Hello and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. We're going to start a brand new theme this week as we typically do on Mondays. This week's theme is watery vibes, songs that feel like or sound like water, whether that's rain or the ocean or beach or maybe something a little heavier like drowning. Maybe even just calm, serene, a lake or a river running through a forest. Any sort of watery vibes. I'm excited for this week. We're going to kick it off with some Radiohead, which, yep, that sounds about right. This community loves Radiohead, and Radiohead does a pretty good job of evoking emotions and feelings through their atmospheric writing. Let's dive into this track, The Bends, and see what they're bringing to the table today.
Nothing underneath. Who are my real friends? Have they all got the bends? Am I really sinking? They're slow. Baby's got the bends. I know.
I'm digging that bass line. There's an interesting bluesy bend to this track as well. It's not quite blues rock, but it's using a lot of parts of the blues key.
I wish it was the 60s, I wish we could be happy. I wish that something would happen. Where do we go from here? The planet is a Gundam, and the sea of fear. And where are you? Brought in the CIA, the tanks and the home marines to blow me away, to blow me sky. Baby's got the bends. We're gonna have it in real, just lying about what you feel. Talking to my girlfriend, waiting for something to happen. I wish it was the 60s, I wish we could be happy. I wish that something would. I wanna What's it coming out of weird? Where are you now? When I need you.
All right. Very cool track right there. Not exactly what I think of when I think of Radiohead. This is, well, I don't know if I necessarily say when I think of them, I think of a non-commercial sound, but there is a theatricality to Radiohead that I don't think I really heard here. This one seems to wear their influences on their sleeve very clearly. That feels like some of the blues rock and hard rock of a decade before them. I find it to be really interesting. That is to say, if you had played this for me with no context, Radiohead would not have even been one of my top 10 artists that I would have guessed that this was. I find that really interesting. Through that lens, though, I think it's a really great blues rock track. It definitely has a bit of those bluesier elements to it. The solo absolutely leans into that direction. The notes, the way that they make the guitar speak, the way they voice through it. It's the general tone of the guitar too. There's a brightness to it that I find interesting within this track. Because we do kind of bounce between two extremes, higher energy and lower energy. One focuses more on a lower end sound, while the other is a brighter, higher end sound. The solo, I think, kind of brings that brightness from older guitar tones that we kind of lost as rock progressed into the 90s and 2000s, where, I don't know, the low end of the guitar kind of took over for its sound as far as EQing and production goes. This just feels like a track from a while ago. Whereas it probably wasn't. This came off of an album of the same name, The Bends, which was released in 1995. I don't think this sounds like a song from 95. There are certainly elements of it, sure, but the foundation, again, feels a bit earlier to me. So I find that really interesting. Radiohead to me always sounds like Radiohead, and this is one of the only times I feel like they don't, which is kind of a rarity. Now, as for what this song is doing, as I mentioned, we kind of bounce between two extremes. We have a lower energy idea. This one is predominantly focused on lower end instruments. The bass is mostly looking at lower strings. There might even be a different guitar tone here that emphasizes the lower part of the EQ. We have a bass guitar focus here. We have a bass kick focus here. The energies are, the vocals are brought down in energy. They're not delivered as prominently, they're not delivered as pointedly, they're not projected as much, they're lower in pitch, they're more reserved in general. And I think if you look at the composition of this section, it's more reserved across the board. The guitar part is not as loud or bombastic, the bass part is not as quickly moving, the drum part is less engaged. This section is a very strong contrast to the chorus, maybe. I'm not entirely sure what the structure of this song is. We kind of had two sections and then a mini solo and then two more sections, I think, and then a bigger solo and then another vocal section. Maybe it's just bouncing between verses and bridges, AAB, AABA, something along that line. It certainly is not the conventional verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, which is probably the most Radiohead thing about this track. An unusual structure to it all. But regardless of the overall structure, it still bounces between this lower energy section and a more energetic section where the vocals are delivered with a lot of energy. They're brighter in tone, higher in pitch. The guitar is more prominent in the mix and the composition. It's more of a lead instrument rather than a secondary one. The bass line is more energetic and the drums are more engaging, moving away from focusing on the bass kick to bringing in the whole kit and increasing the number of notes played per bar. There's just more of the drums present throughout this entire segment. And I find that this energy movement works really well in just contrast, keeping the song feeling interesting by moving between these very dynamic ideas. But the song is just peaks and valleys. We don't really have much engagement in the way of gradual movements, large transitions, um, anything that would lead us from one to the other. We're just kind of in one idea, and then we're in the next, and then we're in the next, and then we're in the next. And I feel like we spend more time in the higher energy one as well. That's probably because if there is a verse chorus idea where the verse is the softer one and the chorus is the brighter one, there is the post chorus and bridge that also shares that same brighter, higher energy identity. And so the song just generally leans in that direction. But I think that it's interesting because while we have increased the energy of the track, emotionally, we haven't changed much. That lower energy vibe is still present in the bluesy leaning chord progressions and melody writing of the vocals and the guitars. There is still a dreariness to these sections, something that brings or attempts to bring the song down despite this momentum, this energy, this peak. I find that evocative. I'm not sure what it's trying to tell me, though. Unless it is a sort of trying to move through bluesy stuff, depression, sorrow, grief, even a little bit of anger possibly, and trying to get through that with positivity or maybe any of these things trying to pull down a good time possibly. It's interesting because Radiohead is a band that, well, I either have one of two things to say about them. Either what they're playing is thematically engaged and cohesive, and I just immediately know what they're on about. Before we've even hit the lyrics, I've touched on all of the themes that the lyrics will be exploring. That's how clear-cut they craft their music as far as synergizing with the lyrical themes. Or the other side is that I have no idea what they're doing at all. There was a track, something, maybe it was just fishes, maybe it was something fishes, chasing fishes, I don't remember. Weird fishes? Is that what it was? Anyways, that song threw me for a major loop. I had no idea what was going on in that track. This, much like the way that I have a tough time identifying this as a Radiohead work, I'm also kind of in the middle, an unusual place for me to be on Radiohead, where I can hear the themes, I can kind of see what they're going for, but the image is just less clear than usual. Usually I'm at extremes with them, but I'm right in the middle. Not a place I'm used to being with Radiohead. Regardless, I still think that this idea of friction between energy and downward momentum of some sort is prominent here, and it is a key element regardless of what they're trying to say with that. The last thing I want to touch on, and this is going to be quick, I thought about starting the analysis segment off with this, but I didn't want to start on a pain point, especially one subjective like this. Watery Vibes is a very subjective theme. It's not cut and dry like I don't know, a song where a theme where that might be, features a saxophone. I think that's pretty clear cut. We all pretty much know what a saxophone is. If a song doesn't have a saxophone, it shouldn't be there during the week. But different people will hear different things, and some people may find this to be very watery. And, I'll admit, might not have been my first thought, but the lower energy sections do or can feel underwater. There's also a general weight being pulled down, the depressive element, the bluesy component to this, that can feel very drowning or underwater for some people. But generally, water would not be the first thing I thought of, wasn't the first thing I thought of while listening to any of this track. So I'm kind of curious where other people sit on this. Does this feel like a watery song to you? Again, it's all subjective. This is not a week where I can say this didn't fit the theme at all. It just didn't really fit it for me personally. But that's what makes music interesting. Like all art forms, we all get something different out of it. All right, let's hit some lyrics on this one and we'll see what's going on there. All right. So I think I found possibly why this was selected for the week. It's a lyrical theme of being underwater, but specifically about the bends, which is a term also known as decompression sickness, which occurs when dissolved gas comes out of a solution forming bubbles in the blood. This most often happens with deep water divers who come up too fast. So it's about coming up rapidly from a low place. That's what the bends is. And I've tried to analyze this track through that perspective, and I don't know that it always works, but there almost seems to be another element to this as well. Radiohead is not one to shy away from musical metaphor. And I wonder if the bend is about bending a string to make it a different pitch, to change it. Either way, we're still looking at change. Not necessarily growth, not necessarily positive or negative change, but rapid change. The first verse says, "Where do we go from here? The words are coming out all weird. Alone on an airplane, falling asleep against the window pane." So he's just kind of lost here. Maybe even fatigued, tired. Maybe life is getting to him. The second verse, "I need to wash myself again to hide all of the dirt and pain because I'd be scared that there's nothing underneath." Very powerful lines here. We're not washing the dirt and pain to get rid of it, to make our hands clean. He says, I need to hide the dirt and the pain, metaphorical dirt and pain, the blemishes of his life, history that he's not too keen on sharing, maybe personality traits he doesn't want to expose to the world. But he's also afraid that there's nothing else other than this pain, that he is just the bad choices he's made through life. He says, who are my real friends? Have they all got the bends? Am I really sinking this low? And this is why I think maybe it's a musical metaphor, because the bends is about rising too quickly. Well, maybe it's commonly found in deep water divers that ascend too quickly. So it's about coming up from a low place. And this chorus says, am I really sinking this slow? Do all my friends also have the bends? It seems to be the opposite of the way it's typically used in diver lingo. So I find that interesting, an inverse, but bending downwards. The chorus says, my baby's got the bends and we don't have any real friends. So tying back to verse 1, being alone on an airplane, verse 2 says he doesn't know who his real friends are, and the chorus says, I don't have any real friends. It's a song about loneliness, about not knowing where to go next. Some of the context I read about this placed this not long after Creep and the massive rise to stardom that Radiohead explored through that single. It's quite possible that that's the bends right there. To be a nobody band, maybe just playing local shows, to being a massive star of a group that technically is just a one-hit wonder, but absolutely skyrocketed in fame, almost moved too quickly from a low point to a high point. And through that process, not really knowing what to do next, where to go, who are you? Now that you're in the limelight, do you have to clean yourself up? Do you need to alter the way you present yourself? Do you need to hide some skeletons in the closet? Now you got paparazzi all around you, and you have a bunch of people hovering around you who they say they're interested in you, but maybe they're just interested in themselves. He questions if he even has any real friends. From here, we have a wild verse that says the planet is a gunboat in a sea of fear. They brought in the CIA, the tanks, and the whole Marines to blow me away. I'm really curious what this is supposed to mean. There is an annotation on Genius, but I don't really think it explains much to me. It's rather in depth, but I don't know. The only thing I take from it that I think works is the idea of blowing up, of getting big. Especially a rapid rise to stardom would be, blowing up. But it would imply that it was outside forces that did it, which maybe they might feel that way too. All they did was, much like some of their other music, just wrote a song. This one just happened to be incredibly popular. The bridge says, I just want to live and breathe and be a part of the human race. And ask for simplicity, almost a want to go back to a pre-creep time. Just to make music again. I find this really interesting. It reminds me of artists like Chapel Rowan, who just wanted to make music, found themselves on a roller coaster to fame, and ultimately wasn't too fond of where that took them, being overwhelmed by everything that comes with that. This is sort of that same feeling. Who am I in all of this? Where do I go? Who have I surrounded myself with on this journey? Why am I even here? I don't belong here. That's going to wrap up my thoughts on Radiohead's The Bends. What did you think of this track, though? Is there anything that stood out to you? Anything that you would like to add on to what I said or correct me on? Do you have your own take, perspective, or opinion on this track? Let me know. Put all of that, as well as anything else you'd like to, into the comment section below. Above that, in the description box, is a link to Linktree. It takes you here. You can find links to my music, ways to support the channel, a link to the Discord server, and so much more. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all three of those. I'll be back tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 p.m. UTC as usual. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.